We know how strong the Super Witch army is and the Thrower Smash army, but let's see what happens if we use them together in our Legend League's attacks. Alright, and very first up is going to be on a double rage base. This is Ryuta himself. Now, explain the army composition itself a little bit, why I have Super Witch and the throwers, and I think Super Witches, the best benefit of it is that it provides the big boys, which then have those tanking troops for you. And if you combine that with throwers, which throwers can reach over walls, I felt like this combination will be a very effective push versus a full Super Witch or a full thrower. But so here we go. The setup is essentially very similar to, or if not exactly, how you would set it up for a Fireball Super Witch or a Fireball Thrower attack. Now, obviously, the Quakes there, we did not actually get the Fire Spitter there. It was actually HP. I should have Quaked it, but nonetheless, it shouldn't be too much of a big difference here. You can see how we are carving out one side of the base with the Fireball, which we did there, and then entering at the very bottom of the base. And essentially, you could see this little L shape, which is going to be entering into here and then going into the Town Hall like so. So that's exactly what our ultimate goal of with this army or with the Fireball was to create a very nice pathing like you typically would with the Super Witch attack or the Thrower attack. So Fireballs did land, and then we are sending our Ice Golem Super Witch. You can see the big boys are already in front, and then of course you're going to have that Barbarian King coming in as the last ship, because again, you kind of want the king to be tanked. And another reason why I kind of like this is that because with the Town Hall Splash and the Spitter Splash, it's going to hit multiple troops at this one time. So having those big boys there with the Super Witch and then the throwers at the very back behind all of it, I just think it just makes the Smash in general even stronger. Who knows? I do think this is pretty nice. You can see the King ability there, eliminate that entire left side of the Rage. Giga Bomb or Giga Trap right there behind the Town Hall is not going to do anything to us because we already eliminate the entire core in that multi. So you can see our throwers are still alive, and what's great is they're going to be able to reach behind these walls to grab these defenses. For example, that Air Expo on the upper left hand corner, it's going to be able to be reached by the throwers. Not like it made too much of a big difference there, but again, it kind of helps with those time issues, because you know this army composition is already going to be time, or Super Witch or throwers are always going to be time issues. So nonetheless, we still have the RC intact, which then in this equipment, what I do have is the Spear and the Hog Puppet. I do think the Spear and the Hog Puppet is great because it generates the Hog. The RC goes invisible, and then again the Spear, where the RC will be able to stand behind and have more of those troops outputted to do more damage, is even great for a back end. So now that we've seen this one, let's just proceed and jump to the next one. Second base is going to be on a kind of a teaser base, but it's more so like a Diamond Rage Poison base. Now, obviously, this base has great Fireball value. You can already kind of guess where exactly we're going to go for. In addition to that, the Warden Walk on this one is pretty easy because you don't have to really, go or worry about running into any potential threat for your Warden, because it's just one single Expo. Now, the ultimate goal was to essentially remove the Expo, remove the mortar, and then, you have a free shot with the Fireball and your Invises to land that Fireball here. With that, it's going to eliminate the right side of the Rage, which then, you get a Spitter, a Scatter, and an Inferno, which is very huge here. So that's what we're going to be going for there. You could see where the setup of this attack is going to be. We are going to be essentially doing somewhat of a same entry point like we did with the other attack, which is entering into the Monolith. So again, moving forward, you could see the throwers here, but like I said, reaching over the wall, they have like a biotile radius is what I'm assuming, is that they are going to be able to pick off the storage and the Expo. Because if I were to enter into this side, the Super Witch or that Expo is going to be locking onto my Warden, which stays longer. But on top of that, it's also going to be a more huge of a threat because the Smash would have been able to path like this, and then essentially that Expo would stay up longer. So nonetheless, you can see the thrower took off the storage, took off the Expo, essentially keeping my entire Smash going right into that one direction, which is super narrow shot right into the core as we got the wall break to open for us. Here we go. We got the Ice Golem still intact with the Rage, and the throwers again are moving with all of our Smash. You can see how the Siege Barrack and Queen is working together just like it would with the Super Witch or the Thrower army. And here we do have everything. Balloons going into the core to absorb all of the traps. Earthquake Boots opening the core and to give us access into the remaining of the base. So Overall of this hit, I think the fireball value was way too much, because then it's just there's not enough defenses to be able to take down this smash, especially with how spread those expos were. But you could just go, this army just goes to show the power and strength of how strong the thrower super witch combination can be. In addition to that, with the equipments, I do have everything essentially the same. Queen is going to be the mirror and puppet. Like I said, for the world champion, that is going to be the spear and the hawk puppet. I do like the hawk puppet, and again, because it kind of tanks for your RC, while your RC can stay in the back range and kind of throw its spear to access those defenses. As you can see, plenty of troops remaining on this attack, so this one was easy. 40 cups on the board there. But now let's go ahead and jump to the third replay. And next up is a double rage, not a diamond, but a box base. So this one is going to be on the box base. You can see immediate Tesla farm. That's why I always highly encourage you to use a barbarian or a balloon to test for any air traps or potential Tesla farm, like in this purpose. All right, so moving along, I just kind of want to highlight the puppets, or not the puppets, but the equipments, like we already talked about on the world champion. That is going to be the spear and that hawk puppet. And then of course on the archer queen, we are going to have the mirror and the unicorn. Classic on the warden, which is going to be that fireball, and of course that rage. And then barbarian king, earthquake boots, and the spiky ball. So here we're kind of letting the warden kind of take its path to see what he can trim down. He does pick off the air expo, and what the best fireball value will be is landing it on this rage tower right here, because landing it on that rage tower will get you essentially the entire set of defenses here, which essentially helps with your pathing when it comes to going into that core of the base. So you can see that fireball with those earthquakes is going to be enough. And why do I bring the two earthquake? The two earthquakes are typically for the ricochet cannons, which is more so the max one, which is like up here, because those take two earthquake. But in this one, I use one because that one was not a max ricochet cannon there. So you can see throwers are working around the base. You can see they're going to be sniping some of these buildings here, which again helps with the super witch pathing and kind of keeps everything tucked and narrowed together as they push throughout the core of the base. We are going to kind of essentially jump in over that inferno, because what I noticed here, if we use an earthquake boot right over that fire spitter or the builder hut or anywhere in this area, we can open the rest of the base up. So that's what's happening here. You can see we are using an early rage there. We have the siege bearer queen working very nicely there. Barbarian king gets very far inside of the base here, and from here you can use the earthquake boost to kind of help with the CC and push through the whole entire back end very easy. You can see throwers, super witch. I do genuinely think if you actually did a full thrower or a full super witch after that fireball, they both would have worked no matter what, because of how much fireball value that was. Any smash really could have worked afterwards. So skeleton spell really tanking the monolith, tanking the hero, tanking the ricochet. Any splash damage that it could tank for us, it is doing its job. You can see we have so many troops up in that core. We still have queen of building, which we phase just to get through time. We have RC hogs coming out to clear the rest of the base. Throwers doing a tremendous job at trying to reach those buildings that super witch could not have reached to help with all of the time. So really crushed hit yet again, and this goes to show the power of what these two troops can do when they are working together. And finally, we are going to show a somewhat kind of a more max base than the ones that we've already currently hit. Now this one is going to be, again, the double rage, which this one is quite common in Legends League. It's been common since the event troop from back in October, Halloween. So that is what that is. We are doing a immediate triple invis because we tested balloon, there is no trap, so we are going to be able to eliminate that entire right side of the rage. So now that we don't have to really necessarily worry about that, you can see that I had to invest 2 quake to get that ricochet cannon down, because again, like I said, it does take 2 to be able to get those down. So our whole idea was to be able to enter on the other rage, because I feel like ending on that rage, especially with this spitter pointing in this direction, I think going behind that spitter is going to be very beneficial for us, and which we are going to take full advantage of. Now we do see that it is picking off some of our big boys, which is again no problem at all, because the splash is splashing on the big boys. It's not necessarily immediately targeting and locked onto super witch or the throwers. Again, this is why I kind of like this combination, is because of the big boys and the ice golem working together to have that tankage, so that your throwers are well protected in this particular matter. So here we go, same concept as before. We kind of double broke in. We had to break the T junction to give us accessibility into the spitter and of course into the ricochet cannon there. queen does turn in, unfortunately, because of the gold storage that did go down. It actually made everything go inward towards the base. Not like it's the end of the world, but it is okay. We do have our throwers alive with the Super Witch. We have Barbarian King alive, barely there, but here we go. We are clipping in the World Champion fairly early there, and that's just because so that the World Champion can work around the base, so it could turn our smash right back and to go upwards towards the Queen. So that's exactly what's happening there with our early deployment of the World Champion. Of course, I do like the Super Minions in the CC, and that's just something I really didn't talk about. Super Minions being in the CC over the Valkyries, I guess it's personal preference. For me, Valkyries tend to always get fried or cooked as they get towards the back end, versus Super Minions. Super Minions can stay on the back end and work with the World Champion and to be able to provide the damage it can over the walls and behind any ground defenses there. So that's army has been pretty successful for me. I used it over a week and had great outcomes with it. Hopefully it is the same case for you. I hope you guys liked this video. If you guys did, make sure you guys go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. But that will do it for me here today in this video. But until then, I'll catch you all in the very next one. Go style.